Hello, guys. Welcome back. If you were already with me, we are going to be changing topics. We talked about reported speech before. Now we're going to be talking about gerunds and infinitives because it's a rather complicated subject and something that just needs some memorization and some practice. If you joined me before and you came back, I hope you had time to eat some dinner. I, in the meantime, ate a brownie and an apple, so I should be good to go for the next 20 minutes, I think. If you are new here, welcome back. And I think tomorrow I'll be doing another 10 to 13. So you can catch me again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then you can also catch me next week in person as we are opening the school to a limited extent. We are going to be doing certain activities with a limited number of people. So call our beloved, hi against Elisa, you're back, my most dedicated fan. So to be sure to call our beloved Ketty, Marco, Robbie, and make sure that the activity that you want to do is available. And if you want to come into school, we are going to be open next week. So hope to see you then. And I also hope to see you tomorrow for my other webinar that I'll be doing at 10 a.m. So let's go to it. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. If it will allow me to. Technical difficulties. All right, so here we are. Okay. So, as I said, we are going to move on to the subject of gerunds and infinitives because you can never get too much practice with gerunds and infinitives, in my opinion. So, let's begin here. Instructions. In the gerunds and present participles. So this refers to when in English we use gerunds, what types of expressions we use gerunds with, and what types of expressions and uses we have for present participles. Now, a gerund is essentially the ing form of the verb. I think it's the same word in Italian, okay? And because we only ever think about food, as we established in our last webinar, we of course are going to be talking about cooking. So cooking instructions. Do you know instructions when you cook, or do you know recipes by heart? Now, to know something by heart is an idiomatic expression. Any idea what it means to know something by heart? For example, I know the route to go back home by heart. I know the address of my parents by heart. I know the recipe for a Spanish frittata by heart. To know something by heart is to know something by memory, okay? Do you prefer to follow things by memory, follow things by your heart? Me, I love to learn to cook things following instructions by heart. But at the same time, I also love to try new recipes by following instructions. I think if you don't follow instructions, you'll never learn how to cook anything new, obviously. You'll never learn how to make more difficult recipes. Elisa says she knew the poems by heart at the primary school. Yeah. For example, at our primary school and throughout all of the school, we learned the national anthem, the US national anthem. We had to learn the American national anthem by heart at school. Elisa says, the few and simple things I know, I cook them by heart, but when I have to cook new things, obviously I read recipes, but it almost never happens. So I totally agree. There are some days when you feel like making complicated recipes and other days when you just want to cook something that you know, right? All right. Number, do you find recipes? Or what inspires you to cook a certain recipe, for example? Do you have a preferred website? Do you have a favorite cookbook? Do any of you use cookbooks at all? I think it's much more common today to use websites as opposed to cookbooks. For example, my inspiration for recipes comes from basically finding whatever ingredients I have in my kitchen, typing the names of the ingredients into Google, and seeing what recipes appear. That is the inspiration for my recipes. It has saved me a lot of money and a lot of time. Elisa says, I find them on the internet or on the packs of food. Yeah. Often it's very convenient that they'll have the recipes and the ingredients on the little packs of food. That you can learn a lot of new recipes when you buy the containers. Hunger inspires me. Yeah. Yep. I think everyone is inspired by hunger. Let's see. And number 3, what are your favorite dishes? I'm okay, guys, don't worry. What are your favorite dishes and how often do you cook them? Any favorite dishes? Do you have a favorite Italian dish? And then similarly, do you have a favorite non-Italian dish? I think it's hard to choose a single dish because I really love food and I really love cooking. And one of the reasons I moved to Italy was because I loved the diversity of the cuisine. Loved that even though the food is so good, it also makes me feel good. It makes me feel healthy. Um, Coronavirus, pasta in every form, yes. Pasta is so versatile, right? Um, Meaning that we can make pasta into many different forms and use it in many different recipes. So it's always good to have pasta as a staple in your cupboard and in your kitchen. Good. Maybe my favorite American dish. This is also hard because my favorite American dish is actually which is Mexican. But obviously, in America, we eat so many tacos, and I love them. You can put any sort of ingredient in a taco. They are delicious, and I think it would have to be my number 1 favorite quote unquote American food. How often do I cook tacos? Never, almost never. All right, so read the recipe. In pairs, put the instructions in the correct order and try to guess the dish. Okay. So increase the heat to high and cook for a further 30 seconds or until the mixture browns on the bottom. It's pretty obvious, but to here as a verb means to make the ingredient brown. Okay? Very simple, but a different use of the word brown. Heating the butter in a frying pan, pour in the eggs and cook for a few seconds. Okay? So we know a pan, okay, or a frying pan is the flat that you cook in. Okay? If it's taller, for example, where we cook pasta, hot. Hi, Peter. And the word pour, obviously you have a cup or a glass of something, a liquid usually, and you pour it in. Gently beat the eggs together in a mixing bowl while seasoning with salt and pepper. Now, Eliza already gave the answer. Thank you, Peter. Elisa says the order is 3, 2, 1. Right. So first, correct. And the recipe is for an omelette, spelled differently from the way that I usually write it, like this. Ah, very nice guess, Elisa. So a French toast, one of my favorite things in the world. A French toast, you would use this recipe for a part of it, and you would add vanilla and some sugar and bread also. And then I like to put syrup and honey on top of the French toast. Okay. So it asks here, where are the present participles in gerunds in the recipe? How do we... All right, present participles is essentially a synonym of the infinitive, right? So for example, let's go through each of the verbs. Beat, gerund or present participle? Present participle. While, see, this is a very important structure. While plus gerund, okay? Heating is a gerund. Here, we use the gerund implied that we heat the butter while we pour the eggs. So while is not written, but it is suggested, implied in the sentence. Cooking. So again, while or whilst plus ing. Now, do you know the difference between while and whilst? Any ideas? Because in reality, the meaning is exactly the same. The only difference is that traditionally, whilst was a British word, okay? While did not exist in America. Today, now, whilst is becoming more and more American. Yeah, Paolo, whilst is outdated. I would say whilst seems more formal. It's very often only used in very academic or high-level language. And in the past, it was only a British term. Now, Americans are starting to use it more often in language. Okay? Good. I knew that British was the more complicated one. Typically, yeah, that's how it works, right? Good. And the next increase is a participle, and just like beat, and then part an imperative until the mixture starts browning. Starts plus ing here, okay? The verb to start can take two things. Start plus to, infinitive, or start plus ing. Starts to brown or starts browning. Okay? For me, I believe. Any questions? You can just write in the comments. Okay? All right, so let's talk a bit about gerunds. A gerund is the ing form of a verb which is used as a noun. So if you want to take a verb and transform it into a noun, either as a subject or as an object, you add ing. So for example, cooking pancakes is fun. The subject, and besides, I agree, I love cooking pancakes. I'm terrible at cooking pancakes, but I love it. The subject in this sentence is cooking pancakes, right? The subject is always a noun. Oops, excuse me. Number two, and I enjoy cooking pancakes. Okay? So enjoy always. Okay? It's like you say enjoy cooking pancakes as a noun again. Okay? And last, I don't know much about cooking pancakes. I don't know much about cooking as a noun. I don't know much about pancakes. So here we have into a noun by adding ing. Okay? So let's see. In which sentence is cooking the object of the verb, the subject, and the object of a preposition? So letter A, Elisa already gave the answer. Hi, Ana Maria, no problem. Letter A, 2. B, 1. And C, 3. So the verb in number 2, the object cooking. In number 1, the subject is cooking pancakes. And in number 3, the object of a preposition about, object cooking. Okay? Very good, guys. So gerunds as a subject, like in number 1, cooking pancakes is fun. So it says cooking is a gerund. It is used as the subject of a sentence. Cooking pancakes is a gerund phrase. So in English, phrase is a false friend. Okay? We have sentences. And then a phrase is a short group of words. But not a complete sentence, okay? So the gerund phrase would thus be cooking pancakes. Gerund after conjunctions or prepositions. So for example, I teach this all the time with before and after. Before and after are conjunctions. With before and after, we always use ing. So after turning right, you'll arrive at the station. Or before turning right, you'll arrive at the station. If you forget everything else from this webinar, remember this one thing. After ing, before ing. We can never follow a preposition with an infinitive verb form. So nouns and gerunds are always used to follow prepositions, okay? So using the vocabulary below, convert the words into gerunds and use them as subjects in a list of cooking instructions. So here, again, I will ask you to maybe write 1 or 2 examples in the comments, okay? And I'll write examples as well. So to grease something is to cover it with oil so that the food doesn't stick to the pan, okay? To cut, microwave. Microwave is a noun and a verb. So to microwave or microwaving, okay? Bake, it's to cook in the oven. And mash, for example, mashed potatoes. To mash is to squish something. I love mashed potatoes. I love them. It gives the example, greasing the pan is necessary, right? Elisa, cutting onions is disgusting. Not exactly an instruction, but true. It makes me cry all the time. Potatoes is tasty. Yeah, here we would have to say mashed potatoes is tasty. So we have to think the actual action of mashing potatoes. Is it delicious? Delicious. Yummy. No, mashed potatoes. We can say mashing potatoes is necessary to make puree, for example. Oh, excuse me, I made a grammar mistake. Mashed potatoes are tasty. Microwaving the potatoes is necessary before serving them. Absolutely. Very good. Good. Can we think of an example with the bake? Baking cakes is my favorite hobby. Good. No problem, Ana Maria. How about with the grease? Let me write an example. I wrote, before greasing the pan, you must clean it, right? Obviously. Okay, good. You've met someone who is lost, so in directions, not just cooking. You've met someone who is lost and looking for the train station in your city. Easy. We are in Via Fabio Fiuzzi. The train station is right. Ana Maria. Oh, okay. In small pieces is advisable. Yeah. So, yeah, cutting bread into small pieces is how we would say it. Okay, that's the expression, cut into small pieces. But very good, otherwise very good. Okay, going back. You've met someone looking for the train station in your city. Rewrite the paragraph below and correct the errors with the inclusion of gerunds after prepositions and or conjunctions. Okay, so here we have to take verbs after prepositions and conjunctions and transform them into, okay? So walk in a westerly direction, must make sure to stay side of the road. Now, what does mistake in this sentence? Walk in a westerly direction? Correct. It's an imperative, so we need the present participle. Walk in a westerly direction. Whilst making. Okay? So here we have the conjunction whilst, so we need ing. Sentence. Continue up that road and stop at the junction. I think it's okay, right? Both imperatives, both present participle. After, the biggest mistake of all, after turn left at the junction, look out for the tunnel. After ing, after turning. I compare, perfect. While pass through the, while and whilst passing. Be careful. Wait at the traffic lights before continuing ing. Before continuing on, and you will see the war monument. After, let's see, I see Lisa wrote a question. So after seeing that, or after having seen that? That's a very good. We would say in this after seeing that, notice the station is directly behind. After having plus past participle used to recount stories in the past, right? Okay, so for example, after having left the United States, I studied here in Italy, okay? I'm recounting a story in the past. All right. Here are the answers. While plus ing, before and after plus ing, okay? Now, we all know what I'm going to choose. Cake baking, Google Glass, a driving lesson, or yoga. Shocking, I choose yoga. So you are a yoga teacher and have a new private student prompts below. Devise a short set of instructions with gerunds in part. Tell your student during your first lesson. Okay. Upright. To sit upright is to sit with the very straight back, okay? To place the hand on stomach. Place in the sense of put. Lie flat on your back. Stretch your arms. Close your eyes, obvious. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And bend your back, okay? So, can you write some examples of instructions using gerunds and participles? I'll also write an example in the meantime. So my example is lie flat on your back while placing your hand on your stomach, okay? Here, it's also interesting to note that when we talk about parts of the body in English, we always use possessives, okay? Lie flat on your back while placing your hand on your stomach, okay? With reference to body parts, always, 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 always use the possessive, okay? Let's see. Can you give another example? I'm going to use the example of close your eyes after breathing out through your mouth, right? So close, imperative, in present participle, ing, after breathing, okay? Yeah. So it is past. So let's go to the second activity, same subject of gerunds and infinitives. Good advice. If I can share my screen. Okay. Okay. There. All right. Oh, wrong. There. So, good advice. In this focus activity, dealing with problems, giving advice, gerunds and infinitives. Now, this is a rather challenging activity because it uses lots of new vocabulary. And so we might have to take some more time to go over some of these exercises, but it's very useful. Okay. Dealing with problems. To deal with. What is the synonym of this phrasal verb, to deal with? To deal with a problem? It's like to manage a problem, to take care of a problem, okay? To deal with a person, to manage a person, to manage the relationship with someone, okay? So what do you do when you have a problem? Do you speak to someone for advice or deal with it alone? Yeah, good. Anna Maria, you say that a synonym of to deal with is to tackle. That's perfect, to tackle a problem, right? Very good verb. Me personally, when I have a problem, I ask someone for advice and then I deal with it alone, mostly. Who do you turn to for advice? To turn to someone. Any idea what it means to turn to someone? If you want to turn to someone, it means you come to that person for help, usually, okay? For advice, I very often turn to my mom or my grandma or my boyfriend. They're very, very good at giving me advice. Why? Well, my mom is good at giving advice on managing life in general. She helps me with the adult things that I don't know how to tackle, like Anna Maria said. My grandma is very good at giving money advice, and my boyfriend is very good at giving me advice for how to deal with Italy and all of Italy's problems, because he is Italian and I am not. So those are the three people that I turn to for advice. Do people turn to me for advice? I'd like to think so. Not sure if so much. Now for this next question, what's the best advice you've gotten and what is the worst? What's the best advice you've ever gotten? Can you think of maybe one moment where you got really, really, really great advice? Or a piece of advice that changed your outlook or changed the decision that you would have made? Now, advice, remember, is uncountable, okay? So we have to say a piece of advice, okay? Or pieces of advice. What about, what's the worst piece of advice you've ever gotten? Can't think of a particular moment where I got really terrible advice, but I'm sure I get terrible advice all the time. Maybe I just don't follow it. So here we have a little fill-in exercise, which is very, very challenging, but it's really good practice for gerunds and infinitives. Choose the correct form of the word to finish the advice. Bare infinitive, infinitive with to, or ing. Rock the boat. There's a famous song called Rock the Boat. To find out, to get back, to be passive, to tell, neglect, think, and dwell. So lots of new vocabulary here. So rock the boat. Any idea what rock the boat is besides the song? To rock the boat is to shake things up. It's to maybe create problems where there weren't problems. It's to make changes. Yeah, to make changes. To find out a synonym. To find something out is to discover information. Okay, specifically discover information. Get back has many different meanings, so we will wait to see the context. How about, let's see, Anna Maria says bothering. It could be bother. It's a bit more neutral than bother. It means just to, yeah, it means just to make some changes, okay? I saw that my business was very, very old-fashioned. So I rocked the boat a little and I decided to make it more modern, okay? Not necessarily negative like bother. To neglect. Any ideas? Neglect? It's a bit like to abandon, okay? Or to leave something without any attention, okay? And to dwell, ooh, to dwell. If you dwell on something, it means you think obsessively about it. You think about it for a long time, okay? For example, every time I have to renew my residence permit, I dwell on it for days and I can't sleep, okay? Let's see. Paolo, not important. It's not that. To neglect. It's a verb, so it means to not take care of something. Okay. So number one, you should. What's really bothering your friend? To bother. To bother is to annoy, disturb, right? Maybe Anna Maria, that was your question. Bother, to disturb. So you should, whoops, click the wrong button. You should find out what's bothering your friend, right? Should, bare infinitive, okay? Two, you mustn't, those closest to you, like this, for example, you mustn't neglect those closest to you. Can't bothering, is it an idiom? Let's see, can't bothering. I don't, we wouldn't say it in that form. We have the expression can't be bothered, which means I don't care. Okay, I can't be bothered. I really don't care. And that would be more or less an idiomatic expression. Okay. So the next, you mustn't neglect those closest to you. You mustn't abandon the people closest to you. So should, bare infinitive, mustn't, bare infinitive. Okay? It's not good about your career. Take action and speak up. To take action means act, react, do something. Speak up, phrasal verb, means say something, act, say something, don't be quiet. Okay? So it's not good to be passive about your career. Take action, speak up. Okay? So it's not good and it's not bad, for example, plus to and infinitive. Always, in general, the structure it's or it's not plus an adjective is then followed by infinitive with to. To give another example, it's not funny to be mean to your friends, for example, okay? It's not or it's not adjective plus infinitive with to, okay? Next, number 4, I'd avoid unless it's absolutely necessary. I often teach this too. Avoid plus ing. I'd avoid rocking the boat unless it's absolutely necessary. Okay? So don't make big changes. Don't cause trouble unless it's necessary. Okay? Avoid ing. I'd have to you on that. It's quite a complicated problem. In this case, we're saying, I will have to come back later to give you the answer. I'd have to get back to you on that, okay? This is a very useful expression. It means I don't know the answer now. I have to tell you later. I'd have to get back to you on that, okay? In any case, the modal verb have to followed by bare infinitive, okay? Have to, bare infinitive. Number 6, you should him to give you some space if you feel suffocated, okay? You should tell him to give you some space if you feel suffocated. Should, bare infinitive, okay? Let's talk a bit about the difference between tell and say. Tell takes a direct object. So for example, tell my mother. Say takes an indirect object. Say to someone. So say to a subject. Say to my mother. Okay? So tell, no preposition, say plus to. Okay, so you should tell him. I'd advise you it over. I'd advise you to think it over. Okay? Advise plus to. Okay? Stop, only verb left on the past. Stop dwelling on the past. Stop ing. Okay? So, quick review. Should, bare infinitive. Must and mustn't, bare infinitive. It's adjective, infinitive with to. Avoid, ing. Have to, bare infinitive. Should, bare infinitive. Advise, infinitive with to. Stop, in this case, stop, ing. It's a bit more complicated. Depending on the meaning, stop can be used with to, but here, stop, ing. Okay? So, to give one example, how would you deal with this problem? This is a typical Italian problem, I think. Ever since you moved to a different city, your mother has been bugging you about moving back and has been making you feel guilty. First of all, to bug, what does it mean? To bug is, like we saw before, to bother or to disturb, to get on your nerves. Okay, so your mother's been bugging you about coming back, okay? Option 1, You should talk to her to help her understand that your decision to move doesn't mean you love or think of her any less. Option two, you mustn't leave an aging mother alone. Move back. Or option three, it's easy to visit every weekend. You are still in the same country, so it's a few hours away. I'm sure that probably some of the viewers have had this problem with not just their mother, but your family members in general. Um, yeah, you say Ana Maria said that bugging can also mean to complain. It's very similar. Very good. Um, Me personally, I would go with option one. I would tell her that my decision to move doesn't mean I love or think of her any less, right? In any case, the grammar should, bare infinitive, mustn't, bare infinitive, it's adjective, infinitive plus two. Okay? Very good. Another problem. You told your boyfriend or girlfriend that you feel neglected because they don't call you often. You feel abandoned and neglected. They agree, but they don't change. Ooh, bad habits. Option one, they aren't treating you well. You have to have more self respect. Give them an ultimatum change or we're through. The expression we're through, we say this to mean we are finished, it's over, it's done. We are finished. So that's option one, a little bit harsh. Option two, you could give them some time to come around on their own. If they love you, they'll change. To come around, to come around means to gradually change your mind, okay? Okay, gradually change your mind. Okay, so you could give them some time. Or option three, I'd avoid broaching the topic. You might drive them away even more. Broaching, to broach the topic means to bring the topic up, okay? So, which would you choose out of the three? Would you avoid broaching the topic in order to avoid more problems? Would you give them some time? Or would you issue an ultimatum? Would you say change or we're done? I think you could give some time, but also make some adjustments to yourself, right? Think it's not just all about the other person. Let's look at the grammar here. Have to plus bare infinitive. Could bare infinitive. Avoid ing and might bare infinitive, right? Very good. Let's go to the next thing. So maybe last thing, let's match the expressions, okay? You mustn't, you should, I'd recommend, I'd encourage, I'd suggest, I'd urge you to think things through, be down on yourself. It means to be sad with yourself, to be disappointed with yourself. Not to give up so quickly, not to say no, not to say I'm done, not to give up so quickly, giving it your best shot, to give it your best effort, to try your best, treat people better, or taking some time off to take some free time and take a vacation. You must or mustn't with bare infinitive. You mustn't be down on yourself. You should, bare infinitive. You should treat people better. I'd recommend ing. I'd recommend taking some time off. I'd encourage object infinitive plus 2. I'd encourage you to think things through. Encourage object 2. I'd suggest ing. I'd suggest giving it your best shot. And last but not least, I'd urge you not to give up so quickly. So I'd urge object infinitive with 2. Good. Ana Maria, very good. 1B, 2E, very, very good, Ana Maria. Okay. So thank you very much, guys. This is a very difficult topic, requires lots of study, lots of practice, lots of memorization. So I hope you took some notes. I hope you practiced with me, and I hope that you review this later. And I also hope that you come to my webinar tomorrow at 10 a.m. and that you decide to come into school next week, because I can't wait to see you and have a normal week again. So thank you very much, guys, and hope to see you soon. All right. Have a nice night. Bye.